And as for Kilmacud Crokes, like, I mean, that was like some performance by themselves as well. Like, they never seemed to get tired at all in the game, like the way they were pressing on some of the opposition players as well. Like, and they look like a team that could have easily played the 70 minutes, in all honesty. They look like a team that could have kept going. Like, they just didn't seem to tire whatsoever. And I suppose, like what you were saying earlier, like they got to, what was it, 4 county finals there, or like since they last won it, or give or take, they've been there or thereabouts over the last couple of years since they last won one in 2014. So huge final now coming up for them against Na Fianna.
Definitely, they've they've been losing finals and semi-finals by like a score. I think they lost to us in 16 and 17. I might have the years wrong, by a goal each time, and then I think they lost a replay to Bowden in 2019, was it, by a goal as well. So they're getting so close all the time, but just not quite getting over the line. But they've never feared Coola, obviously, like near neighbours, they don't. And over the years, both teams have beaten each other several times. And Na Fianna have never gotten to a senior county final before, so they'll fancy winning this. But if you go through their back line, they've got 3 or 4 lads who are like 19 years of age, 20 years of age. So in terms of legs, those lads will stay going all day. And they just have a great spine to their team. And like any club team that has the likes of Fergal Whiteley, who's maybe not known throughout the country, but has Oisin O'Rourke there buzzing around the 65 and up and down, has Ronan Hayes in there, even Alex Considine, like if he turns and goes, actually, he's a bull of a player too. Like, they shouldn't be too far away from anyone. Not only should they be looking at winning Dublin, but they should be looking at having a right good run at Leinster, because any of the other teams that have come out of Dublin in recent years, they just haven't shown their best stuff. So they will be heavy favourites here. But like the final against Na Fianna should be quite good, because Liam Rush has just transferred to Na Fianna this year, first season. St. Pat's Palmerstown weren't able to fulfil their 2 or 3 fixtures, I think, last year in the Dublin Championship. So you can understand why he'd want to sort of push on and kick on in club hurling. Donald Burke is there, Colin Curry, AJ Murphy, Shane Barrett. I think he needs to take himself up to the next level. He looked a really good player for Dublin, but doesn't seem to be quite at the level. But he could kick on. Sean Baxter. They have a lot of good players. I'm probably even leaving 1 or 2 out there. But it should set itself up for a good final, and it'll be the first non-Coola or non-Ballyboden winner since 2014. So you can imagine the excitement on the final whistle, no matter who wins.
Yeah, I was going to say that to you as well, like, because Na Fianna, like, they've had all this underage success over the last couple of years. Like, they're building, not just in hurling, but in football as well. Like, I kind of felt they might have a good crack at the Dublin Senior Football Championship this year. Obviously, that didn't happen in the end. They were beaten in the quarterfinals. But, like, in terms of hurling, like what you said there, like with Donald Burke and a lot of the other lads as well, a lot of young players coming through, like, they're going to be a tough test for Kilmacud. And like what you said, like, Kilmacud going in as favourites, it might be a little bit dangerous for them as well, given some of the failures they have had in the Dublin Championship over the past couple of years. But it should make for a very interesting game, because I suppose the pressure is on Kilmacud, but Na Fianna, like, they've a lot of good young players as well, so there'll be some pressure there too.
Yeah, and then if it becomes a tight game, that's where I think Kilmacud being there so often, even if they've come up a little bit short once or twice, I think that would stand to them. Na Fianna had a very interesting quarterfinal against St. Jude's. Now, St. Jude's had, through whatever lack of options, I'm not sure if Fiona Rin-Bryn used to take all the frees, but Danny Sutcliffe ended up taking the frees. And like, I've been waxing lyrical about his performances for Dublin this year. It was kind of like 2013 type form, but he was taking the frees and he looked like somebody who's not used to taking frees. And, he hit a load of them wide. Like, they were just, it was very unnatural kind of free taking stance. And Donald Burke was knocking him over. It went to extra time then, and then Donald Burke got the yips and he started missing frees. So both teams were missing frees. It was this really dramatic sort of a shootout. Would probably be doing a disservice to it, because the shooting was so bad. And then ultimately Colin Curry stepped up. I think he scored a goal, and he also started knocking over the frees. But they got very, very jittery in this tight game where everyone expected them to win well. And anytime there's expectation in the Fianna in the last year or two, like last year, they beat Coola in the group stages by 12 or 6 points. They were up by 12 late on, and Coola got 2 late goals just to take the bad look off it. But now that the expectation is there, you're into a final. This is where I'd probably start nudging towards Kilmacud, just because they've been there, and they've probably, I don't know. There's a lot of different factors, but just the old eye test, without fully looking at all the matchups just yet, I haven't gone that far yet. I would just be leaning towards Crokes. I might change my mind yet, but I think Crokes, yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably be the same as well. Like, I think, look what you said, like they've been thereabouts over the last couple of years, and look, they beat Coola twice this year, and they beat them fairly convincingly, really, in both games. So you'd have to fancy them in many ways, like what you said. And probably for Na Fianna, it's probably just maybe a year or two early, maybe next year. Like maybe they just need to, I suppose, get used to playing in these big semi-finals, finals before maybe they can think going beyond that, I suppose.
Yeah, the only problem for them is if they leave it too much longer, it'll end up passing them by altogether. That's something you see. There's these teams that are coming forever. Like, for example, Turlough have won all these failures or whatever, and then, you know, they played in one final only and they got knocked out of a preliminary quarterfinal this year by a senior B team. So you eventually have to make that breakthrough. But the quality is there. They kept looking to just 12 points the last day. I think it is going to, like, you've probably noticed that the scores in games has dropped dramatically in the last few weeks. Like, we're probably playing a lot of county championship finals a lot later in the year than we were this time last year. Maybe that's where I was wrong about Kilmacuds. They probably played it in much nicer weather last year, semi-final in dirtier conditions this year. Maybe that kind of plays a part. But Na Fianna, they're going to have to make it count very, very soon, because Liam Rush is probably 30, 31. Martin Quilty's been on the road quite a long time. He was a county player around 2012, 2013, had a cruise ship or whatever. Like somebody, you eventually do have to deliver. So Paul O'D actually is another player I should have mentioned. He's very good back. But I think they're going to have to make it count fairly soon, because there's no guarantee that Ballyboden won't kick on next year. They're after signing Timmy Hammersley, who's an ex-Tipperary hurler. He's a very good free taker as well. I'm not sure if he'll be starting or not. We'll see how it goes next year. But like, they could kick on to another level next year. Coola could be back to their best. So you have to strike while the iron's hot, or maybe you'll never actually strike.
Yeah, it's a fair point, actually. And even looking beyond that as well, like if whoever was to come through, whether it was Kilmacud or Na Fianna, like looking up the possible meeting of Ballyhale in a Leinster Club final, or I'm not too sure on the draw, maybe they might meet in a semi-final. I mean, that'd be a cracking game altogether. Look from the outsider point of view, with the talent and players that they've had and what they've obviously achieved over the last couple of years, like you'd be looking towards them, not just probably in Leinster, but probably for the whole All-Ireland.
Yeah, as far as I know, the way it would work out, assuming that the Dublin team kept winning and the Kilkenny team kept winning, it would be a Kilkenny versus Dublin Leinster final. But of course, there hasn't been the last time out, it was St. Mullins of Carlow who got through to the Leinster final after beating Coola along the way. So it remains to be seen, but you'd have to fancy Ballyhale. TJ Reid, Owen Cody, Adrian Mullen, and then some other lads who've collected a litany of awards, the likes of Owen Cody. I think he has a ridiculous amount of medals. I'm not sure who put it up there about a year ago after they won their most recent title, but he has a ridiculous level of medals. And even in the back line, having the likes of Joey Holden, Richie Reid, probably centre back. O'Loughlin Gales are good, and they've moved Paddy Deegan up to the forward line. You've Hugh Lawler there, and they have a lot of really quality players. Mark Bergen comes to mind. Robbie Buckley's a good stick man. There's probably an obvious player or two I'm not picking out, but you probably have to fancy Ballyhale in that one. And from there, you're looking at Ballyhale probably to win the All-Ireland again. But I'm just wondering who come through Munster and offer a challenge. I don't see St. Thomas's winning it, even if they win Galway. I think Schlockneil will probably come through Ulster again, even though Dunloy will have something to say about that. But Ballygunner, it might be time for Ballygunner to finally step up and get this one over the line, because they won't have Na Piarsaigh, who are the team that have absolutely plagued them in the Munster club over the years, in there. And so will Thurles Sarsfields kick on to another level again? I don't know. They might lose to Lockmore anyway. Then in Clare, you're going to have Ballyea without Tony Kelly. Aina Kilnamona, who've never been in a Clare final before, so I don't know if they'd keep the run going there. Limerick, you've got who won Limerick again? Oh, Kilmallock.
Kilmallock was
so like the door is kind of open for Ballygunner. That's not to say they'll walk through it. But Ballygunner and Ballyhale, I wouldn't mind seeing that game at some stage this year.
Thank you very much for watching this clip of the very most recent podcast uploaded on the channel. If you do enjoy this content, please leave a like and subscribe so you're notified every time I do drop a new upload. And it does very much help the channel grow and help the channel reach more people. So I very much would appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments below what you thought of the video. You can also follow the page on Instagram, and you can also follow on Facebook, Twitter, Spotify. You can follow follow on all social media platforms as well. So if you're not already followed over there, go over there and give the page a follow to help the channel grow as well. So I do very much appreciate anyone tuning in, and I'll see you all later.